This is Rowan Ricks with the Woodward News, and I'm here with Mike Waller, Project Manager with the Airport Planning Group. Can you please explain what you were presenting to the City Commission tonight, discussing the airport plans?
Yeah, what we're discussing tonight is the progress of the airport action plan that was commissioned in 2009 to address future improvements to the airport, airfield, terminal area, as well as the support facilities for the facility. The action plan is a 5-year program designed to determine what the facility needs are going to be over the next 5 years, what the facility and improvement priorities are going to be over that time, funding sources for those projects, and a series of analysis including demand projections over the next 20 years, and particularly the 0 to 5, with emphasis on 0 to 5. But what we want to do is determine what the projected demand is for the 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 20 years. We also want to determine who the users are, how often they operate here, what type of equipment they're using to get here and to fly out of here. And we also, once we have the demand projections, we then determine what the facility needs are, again, on the airfield, terminal area, and support facilities. And once we have that demand, and once we know what facilities are needed in order to accommodate that demand, we look at alternatives. And the alternatives is how the airport will grow up, so to speak, or expand over the next 5, 10, and 20-year period. And then we update the airport layout plan, and that's a drawing that includes all the existing airfield facilities, terminal air facilities, land, airspace infrastructure. We look at airspace, inner portions of the approach surfaces to each and every one of the runways to determine if there are any obstructions. We look at property interests. We look at terminal area, the configuration and overall layout of the terminal area, land use on airport as well as adjacent to the airport. And finally, we also look at the departure surfaces from the runways, in particular the primary runway 1735. And what we're talking about tonight is where we are right now in the plan. And the next step is to determine a capital improvement program, which includes 0 to 5 year costs of priority projects. And we'll break that down year by year, give a line item cost year by year. And what we'll do is we'll determine what the local share is, the FAA share, and what the total project costs are going to be. And that will be followed up with a financial program talking about funding sources, how you raise revenue at the airport, what the city and what the airport can do to increase revenue, increase the overall services that they provide to airport users, and the appropriate ways to administer fees, rates, and charges for the airport.
Okay.
And that's it. That's an action plan in a nutshell.
All right. And what are some of the big improvements that the City of Woodward would be looking at, or some of the priority improvements?
I think we haven't determined the capital improvement program or the priorities, but I think just from our experience with dealing with general aviation airports, it's going to be primarily over the next 5 years environmental assessment, looking at improving or extending 1735 by about 100 feet, performing taxiway improvements associated with that runway extension, as well as taxiway lead into the crossway runway 523. I also think that we'll look at potentially going forward the preliminary land acquisition to the north and south, as well as engineering design of those improvements to the
We can stuff them in there more, but
so I think that's quite a bit. I think that's a pretty fair amount of work the city has put out there over the next 5 years. That's typical for regional type airports.
Why is the extension of that runway and the associated taxi lane improvements so important? Why is that?
The runway extension is important from the standpoint of accommodating existing and projected demand. And right now, the runway, the length of the runway right now allows the airport to accommodate roughly 75% of general aviation aircraft. That includes everything from small single-engine airplanes up through medium and even large-sized business jets. And what we want to do is we want to show what the runway length requirement is going to be in order to fulfill FAA recommendations and FAA standards. And that runway length for right now is 5,600 feet.
Okay. All right.